We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spread Zone. As always, presented by FanDuel. Riz here, and as always, the sharpest minds in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anthony Stalter.
Why are you smirking?
Tim McKernan.
Why are you smirking when you say that?
I have gas.
Well, that makes sense.
Gentlemen, let's find some winners today. Today we're diving deep into the NFL futures and player prop market. So training camps are open. The hype is building. We're ready for football, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
And this is our window to find value before the public and the preseason games start moving the line. So listen, we're not here to tell you to bet on the favorites, who's going to win the Super Bowl. No, we're here to find the edges, guys. We're here to find the misplaced lines. We're here to tell you about the bets that can make our season and make us money, more importantly. And, of course, we always use our friends at FanDuel for the odds. So let's jump in. And I'd like to start in a division that's always a dogfight, the NFC East. Fellas, the NFC East. I think it's going to be tight this year. So when you look at the NFC East, all the talk is on the defending champs, the Eagles and the Cowboys. But the most interesting bet on the board might be a fade. So the New York Giants win total on FanDuel is set at 5.5 wins. The article that caught my eye was from CBS Sports. It says to hammer the under on the Giants. They have the single most difficult schedule in the NFL this year. And the Giants are a team that looks like they're heading for a full reset. Your thoughts on maybe hammering the under on the New York Giants, 5.5 wins?
Boy, Anthony, I'll tell you, it would be tough to see that team win in 6 games. So, therefore, I like the play that Riz is proposing to us to start off today's episode as at the Spread Zone.
Yeah, I do too. I think that Brian Dable is one of those coaches that is at the top of the hot seat when it comes to being fired. I don't.
Tiny head, hot seat.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if he's got a tiny head though. It looks large on TV. Either way, you're bringing in Russell Wilson, who we know. He has not had his reemergence party like Geno Smith or Sam Darnold. He goes to Denver. That was a disaster. Pittsburgh was okay for a couple of weeks, but then the real Russell Wilson kind of showed up. This version of Russell Wilson. I don't see how he gets to East Rutherford and saves that team. Jackson Dart will probably be the QB within the first 8 weeks.
I agree with that.
And I don't think that Jackson Dart is going to be any sort of savior here. So if I'm going to play anything on the Giants, it would be the under 5.5.
And Riz, only 3 teams have longer odds to win the Super Bowl, which gives you an idea of where the odds makers at FanDuel see the Giants this year. So I really do like that play to start things out, because them winning 6 games would probably be considered some semblance of a success for Giants fans.
All right, another one that I'm kind of looking at the in the NFC East. So the Eagles are clear favorites to win the division. An interesting prop bet I've seen is for the Eagles to score a rushing touchdown in every single regular season game.
Ooh, what kind of payout do we have on that? Is that you getting some odds on that? Or is that just an even play?
I can't find a specific prop on FanDuel.
That's intriguing with the tush push.
Right.
It's certainly something that is going to happen more often than it doesn't.
So last year they did it in 16 of 17 games.
Wow. I'm interested to know what game they didn't do it in. If you have that.
That speaks
ready.
to their dominance on the ground.
Yeah.
So if this is something that pops up, it could be something to jump on.
Oh, I think that's a great play. With the way that the Eagles, it was interesting watching them last year. They were putting the ball in the air a fair amount early on. And then at some point, I don't know if it was Nick Sirianni's call or somebody within that organization said, hey, you know what? Why don't we actually limit the amount of passes that Hurts plays, make him more efficient as a passer, and lean on that running game, of course, by Saquon Barkley? And they took off. They've got the best roster in football. And I think from a rushing standpoint, I love that prop. You got Saquon, and as Tim noted, you got Jalen Hurts with the tush pushing. He'll run it in from the 5, too. Right. And he's a tank. Yeah. That's interesting. But I would love to know what sort of odds we're getting. What do you think on that, Tim? You think we're getting plus odds?
I am looking at plus 600 for them to score at least one rushing touchdown in every regular season game per Fox Sports.
That's tasty.
6-1. That's the kind of thing that would give you a little sweat week in and week out. Right. With a 6-1 payoff.
It's the kind of prop bet that feels like a fun like lottery ticket.
Yeah. And for the record, they were third in the NFL last year on rushing touchdowns with 29.
Could you imagine? You're late in the game.
Oh, my.
Run the damn ball.
I need you guys to get one more.
Need you to push this one in.
Anything else you guys are looking at as far as NFC East? Or let's move around. Let's move around the divisions.
You know, I think nobody's going to agree with this one, but I actually think that the Washington Commanders could take a step back this season.
Oh, wow. We're in a disagreement. That's the one that I like this year. What's your reasoning on that?
So hear me out on this, right? And I realize I'm in the minority on this. Yes, there could be a sophomore slump with Jayden Daniels. I think that's a possibility. We saw it with C.J. Stroud, and the list goes on, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks that take a step back week 2, or season 2. Cliff Kingsbury, outstanding often in year 1 when he's the play caller, tends to take a step back because defenses figure out what he's doing in the second year. Dan Quinn, I don't think, is going to fix that defense in one offseason. Last year, they played a lot of close games. Late in the year, remember, they needed a couple of wins just to get into the playoffs. And then, of course, everybody remembers the run. They beat Atlanta in overtime at home. They had a couple of close ones. I think the Eagles the Bears had them dead to rights. Yeah. And then, of course, you had that Hail Mary that went sideways on Chicago. I think Washington could take a step back this year. And I'm looking at the numbers right now. Under 9.5 wins is minus 105. I would love to get better odds on that, but I think that's a tasty play.
I am high on Washington, and I like the over on 9.5 wins. Maybe you and I just get together and have a little talk.
There you go.
But I am high on the Commanders. But I do agree with you that oftentimes, if you just go, let's look at their record, now Jayden Daniels is in his second year, they've got to improve on that. It is important to take a look at, hey, they were fortunate to be in the position that they were in, and also, of course, every organization is leveraged by losing their starting quarterback. I don't know how many would be more leveraged other than the obvious ones in the NFL, speaking of the big three in the AFC in particular, and then, of course, with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, that would be more affected by the loss of their quarterback in Jayden Daniels if he were to get beat up.
I get some hold-ins, too. Terry McLaurin being the biggest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been some tension there.
Can I throw one out there?
Yes, sir, of course.
Okay. Dak Prescott leads the NFL in regular season passing yards at plus 900 on FanDuel.
Wow.
CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens.
Mm-hmm. No running game.
No running game. Dak Prescott at plus 900 on FanDuel to lead the NFL in passing yards.
That's intriguing. If Brian Schottenheimer wasn't calling the plays, I would be more apt to jump on board with you, Riz. Dak, of course, coming off the injury. But I like the fact that you mentioned it. They added George Pickens.
Yeah.
Again, they don't have a running game. They're going to have to throw.
Right.
Which is what they did a lot last year. But can Dak stay healthy?
Are you buying the Dak is going to have to throw for 5,000 yards at a necessity argument?
Yeah, I can jump on that. Yeah.
It's just an interesting play. Plus 900, throw a couple bucks there.
Well, you let off the show talking about we're looking in the margins, right? So I think that's an intriguing one.
We're looking for misplaced lines.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where we find our profits.
That to me was one. I was going through FanDuel and I went, all right, that's an interesting one.
That's tasty. By the way, I'm going to say tasty every time.
Go for it, man.
I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all.
You know, if FanDuel has some sort of drink coming out at some point, I think that could be a good ad for us.
Tasty.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should take a break right here. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're digging into some player props that I think you'll want to lock in sooner than later. Don't go anywhere. Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. And we're back on the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. All right, let's get into some individual player props where the lines feel a little soft. Tim, let's start with you. What are you looking at as far as individual player props?
Well, Riz, I am buying Jayden Daniels' stock as much as I possibly can. I am so high on this guy going back to his time at LSU, and he carried it over into year one in Washington. He was a guy when I was watching the draft. I was thinking to myself, man, whoever gets him is going to see instant impact. And Jayden Daniels is 5th on the board for the MVP. So Jayden Daniels is somebody that I will be buying up as much as I can on a wide variety of awards this year. I am high on Washington and I am high on Jayden Daniels, but I have to tell you, I'm a little concerned because I know this Anthony Stalter knows the NFL and he's over shorting the Washington market, and that makes me feel like I could be exposed.
Anthony?
Don't hide.
Don't hide?
Don't hide. You're going to be just fine. Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to have a big season. Bijan Robinson over 1,200 and a half rushing yards at minus 114. The Falcons are going to lean on Robinson just like they did a year ago. I think he could go off. He's in year 3, second year in the offense with Zach Robinson, their offensive coordinator. I like Penix. I think Penix could have a big year as well, but Bijan Robinson behind that offensive line, you're looking for usage. Like what offensive line, which player is going to, when the game's on the line, is the OC going to look at, and Robinson's key for them.
All right, here's one I got. Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What do you got going with Bucky?
All right, so his rushing line on FanDuel is set at over under 1,000 and a half. This is a guy who ran over 1,100 yards last season, despite not even being the number one running back for the first 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So from week 6 on, he dominated the carries for the Buccaneers. He's efficient. He forces missed tackles. Is there any reason to believe that Rachaad White will play enough for the Buccaneers to make the over a sweat? I don't think so.
I love that play. I think that number is short.
1,000 and a half.
I think he runs for 1,200 this year.
Another one I'm going to throw out, and Tim, I want your opinion on this. For the Raiders, receiver Jacoby Myers, over under 800 and a half.
Boy,
he has
throwing it to him.
He has cleared this number in 4 straight seasons. And last year he did it with a revolving set of quarterbacks for the Raiders. Now he gets a significant upgrade with Geno Smith for the Raiders. Does this feel like a safe bet? An over on the board? 800 and a half Jacoby Myers.
Only 5 teams have longer odds than the Las Vegas Raiders to win the Super Bowl, which is indicative of a team whose game script will be playing from behind, which means more passing, and that would be one of the guys that you would like there. I'll be intrigued to see what Pete Carroll does with that offense, and if that is what they are going to focus on. I'll take that play. I like that play as well. I'll go Jacoby Myers on the over.
What else you got, Tim?
For what I like here on player props, this is one that it might strike you as chalky, maybe not. But as far as players with receiving milestones, 1,000 yards, I've got 2 for you here. Anthony, Amon-Ra St. Brown is minus 210. I know you love the Lion. Minus 210 for 1,000 yards. I realize I'm having to pay 210 to win 100, but that strikes me as something that is close to a guarantee on a player prop that I'm going to find. I would have thought that was a higher number.
Yeah, change of offensive coordinator. Of course, Ben Johnson goes to Chicago to be their head coach, but otherwise, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the toughest dudes in the NFL. Total stud. I like that play a lot. You're right. You're paying double the money there on your juice, but he should be good for 1,100 yards. I think
certainly would think.
How about also a number I saw very low was Stephon Diggs. Now I know he's coming off an ACL tear, 775.5 yards for the over and under on FanDuel. Even if he's 90% of his former self, 775.5 seems very low.
I don't know what we're getting out of Stephon Diggs this year. I really don't. He had kind of the weird off season, of course, where he was on the boat, and not that I care about what the players are doing off the field, but I think that impacted a little bit of, when he showed up to camp, and he's now with a head coach in Mike Vrabel that's not going to put up with any of that. It is a lower number. It might be a buy low opportunity, but for me, I would pass.
Staying away?
Yep.
The other receiver that I was high on, Riz, on these 1,000-yard player milestone plays, Xavier Worthy of the Chiefs. You're getting plus money on that one at plus 115. And I think Mahomes may have a wide receiver option as perhaps the Travis Kelce regression begins and they start to opt more for Xavier Worthy. That's plus 115 for him to hit 1,000 yards in Kansas City.
I got a tight end prop that I really like. So Brock Bowers.
I was wondering if you're going to go Bowers.
Brock Bowers is one of already. I mean, he's only going into his second season, but he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. His prop for receiving touchdowns is 5.5.
Ooh.
But plus 124 if you're going with the over. There is a limited amount of weapons in Vegas, and they got a better quarterback situation now with Geno Smith. I know Ashton Genty's going to be their main back, but Brock Bowers is their dude in the passing game, and he is a beast.
God, I have to tell you, of all the things we've been talking about so far, I love that play. 5.5.
Over 5.5 plus 124. Woo. Better QB situation. Geno likes his tight ends.
A team that'll be trailing.
Exactly. So that's one of my favorite plays that I unearthed.
Very juicy.
And he had, by the way, if you were wondering, Brock Bowers had 5 touchdowns last year. Again, horrible quarterback situation in Vegas. He had 5 then.
God, you know what I love? Ad breaks. I love ad breaks.
You like that?
I love ad breaks. So let's take our final one. When we get back, it's time for long shots and MVP. It's a Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. All right, gentlemen, welcome back to our final segment on the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. We've talked team totals. We've talked player props. Now for the grand finale, the long shots, but we'll start with the big one, NFL MVP. Tim, we'll start with you. Who are we feeling? Now, remember, a non-quarterback has not won the award since Adrian Peterson back in 2012. So keep that in mind. Tim, let's make some money.
Not going to be a problem for me, Riz. You're going to get 8.5 to 1 on this man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the Louisiana State University Tigers in year 2. Jayden Daniels at plus 850 is your NFL MVP.
Okay.
I know that Anthony is not going that direction. I know that.
No, but I am going with another former LSU quarterback who also transferred. I'm going with Joe Burrow at plus 600. Joe Burrow a year ago was getting MVP looks, but his defense was dog poo-poo. And you couldn't, feasibly, you could not put him as the MVP winner, but he put up the numbers. He got T. Higgins back. I think Joe Burrow's going to have an outstanding year.
Guys, if we're going to take a shot, if we're going to make some money,
what are we going to do?
Plus 5,000, Saquon Barkley.
Wow, he's going.
You're going away from the quarterback.
Yeah. I mentioned, last time was 2012, Adrian Peterson. Saquon Barkley plus 5,000 on FanDuel, arguably the most valuable player for the Eagles last season. And if he has a repeat performance, say, 2,000 scrimmage yards and, 20 touchdowns, he'll get the media buzz. And at plus 5,000, is it a bad play?
No, it's not a bad play because he could
50 to 1.
He could have won. He could have won it last year. He really could have.
It's a fun ticket to hold.
And here's the thing about MVP awards: these are not necessarily data driven; they're hype driven. If you're part of a team that does continue on doing what they're doing, and he has been such a key part of it, I think you could indeed see him get that momentum to get 50-1 on your dollar. Ooh, I like that play.
I'll join the party here.
Okay, let's go. Another non-quarterback?
No.
Quarterback.
But somebody that is also giving you 50-1. How about Kyler Murray?
I saw that.
Kyler Murray at 50-1. The Cardinals should be better this year. And now they won. I think they won 7 or 8 games last year, so they weren't that far off. But I was looking at the MVPs over the last 10 years or so. As you mentioned, all QBs, Riz. A lot of these guys are elite dual threat guys. So Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, guys that can throw for a combined 40 or so with the rushing. I think Kyler Murray, who I do not think is an MVP quarterback, but if we're going to play the game, we're going to have some fun. I think Kyler Murray, coupled with the Cardinals being a success, and 50-1 there, I'll take that.
In your opinion, Tim, is betting on anybody but a quarterback a fool's errand?
If you are getting really nice odds, like you're getting on the Saquon Barkley play at 50-1, but yeah, I think for the most part, you're probably operating at about a 95% confidence level that you're going to have a quarterback, and it's just the way that it is, unless somebody absolutely goes off. And Barkley would be that guy who could do it.
He's on the cover of Madden. Is he a 99 guy?
He should be.
Oh, yeah, I would think. Yeah.
He should be.
Yeah.
Guy.
I saw Jamar Chase giving Joe Burrow trouble that he's a 99 guy. And
any other long shots we're looking at?
For MVP?
For anything.
I think that, the MVP market is always intriguing, but if you're going to go with like season leaders, there's a couple of interesting guys. I think the Chiefs are going to have an outstanding season. And they've gone to the Super Bowl and all that. I'm going out on a limb. But let's remember here, a lot of people were down on the Chiefs last year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have been waiting for the demise of them. They won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill and kind of got worse offensively and still were able to make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl a couple times. Yeah. This season, I think, after losing last year, you get Rashee Rice back at some point. We'll see about the suspension. But you get Rice. You mentioned Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce seems to be motivated to at least put together one of his best final seasons. Mahomes to lead the league in passings plus 900. That's interesting. I think the deep ball is going to return in Andy Reid's offense. I think they're going to be really pass heavy this season, and I could see Mahomes having a monstrous year.
If I was going to go with a super long shot, random non-quarterback MVP play, this is the guy who's going number 1 in fantasy drafts in the early going, Bijan Robinson, who you made reference to. You're getting 150-1 on your money. He's plus 15,000. If the Falcons build around him, plus 15,000 would be my Hail Mary play on an MVP non-quarterback.
Long shot for me. Going off the MVP situation, Commanders to win the NFC at plus 950.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir here.
You know Tim's on.
Yes, I'm on board. I'm on board.
All right, let's give our FanDuel locks, our most confident picks of the week, NFL futures, player props, our locks from FanDuel. Anthony, start with you.
I got to go with that Brock Bowers over 5.5.
I really do like that play. That might be something that the Tam Avenue Capital Partners have to make an emergency allotment to.
You telling me that Brock Bowers can't find pay dirt 6 times this season?
I really do like that.
At plus 124? You're not getting rich off of it, but you're getting plus odds?
Yeah. I'm stunned by that. I probably would have in my mind said, I would guess probably 8.5.
Sure. 5.5. That number is short.
I really enjoy that play. Thank you for bringing it.
Oh, yeah. No, you're welcome. That's what we do here in the Spread Zone, presented by FanDuel.
It's all about it. If I were going to go with one that I absolutely love, Riz, as far as a FanDuel lock here on the Spread Zone, I'm going to go with another Detroit Lions wide receiver, a guy who seemed like he was on the brink of his way out and then found his way back, and that is Jameson Williams, and he is minus 250. I realize you're getting up to paying for it, just like I did with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But for him to get 750 plus regular season yards, receiving yards, it's minus 250. And I feel like that's a guy who might be able to knock that out in a handful of games with his big plays. So Jameson Williams, 750 plus receiving yards, that's minus 250.
All right, for my FanDuel lock this week, it's that Bucky Irving over 1,500 rushing yards.
I like that a lot.
Volume and talent are there. The price is right. That's my best bet. That's my FanDuel lock.
I think that's a great play.
All right, I think we had some good looks at the board, guys.
Yeah, I like this. I feel like I'm going to get paid off of some of these plays.
I'm ready for the season to start. All right, remember to check out all the odds and more at the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Of course, bet responsibly. It's Riz, it's Tim, it's Anthony. Spread Zone, presented by FanDuel. See you next week.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.